What's up, guys? So in the last video, we spoke about the residential application screening process. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the commercial application screening process. It's pretty similar, but for the commercial process, it's much more numbers oriented. So let's go ahead and break it down. Number one is submit the application. A commercial lease application collects key information to assess a business's identity, operational history, and intent. Now let's go over a few things what the application details should include. Business legal name, business structure, whether it's an LLC, corporation, or partnership, EIN, which is an employer identification number, date business established, type of business and industry, description of products and services, proposed use of the space, square footage requirements, hours of operation, ownership details, for example, the names, contact info, and ownership percentages, current business address and landlord contact info, previous locations and reason for leaving, number of employees, and requested lease term. Number two is financial review. This part of the process evaluates the financial health and viability of the tenant to ensure they can meet the rental obligations over the lease term. Let's talk about what the required financial documents are in the application. Profit and loss statements, otherwise called P&L, from the past 2 to 3 years, the balance sheets, cash flow statements, bank statements from the past 6 to 12 months, federal tax returns, from the business, and if applicable, personal from the past 2 to 3 years, revenue projections or forecasts, and the debt schedule if applicable. All right, so there's a few key metrics to analyze here. The revenue trends, profit margins, liquidity, leverage, for example, the debt to equity, and the rent to income ratio. Typically, the rent should be less than 10% of gross revenue. Number three is background and credit checks. Assess the tenant's reliability, creditworthiness, and whether they present any legal or reputational risk. So let's talk about what the business credit report will show. It will show their credit score, their payment history with vendors and lenders, any outstanding liens or judgments, any bankruptcy filings, or UCC filings to identify other secured creditors. Also keep in mind, landlords will probably ask you to run their personal credit report. This is important especially for small businesses and startups, and this assesses their FICO score, debt, or any delinquencies or bankruptcies. You 100% want to run their background report as well. The background check will include any criminal records, civil litigation history, especially unpaid debts, landlord disputes, those kind of things, bankruptcy searches, and corporate standings. This is to check the state business registration. Number four is guarantor evaluation, which is very common with commercial leases. If the tenant is not financially strong on its own, a personal or corporate guarantee may be required. So what does the guarantor documents include? It includes the personal tax returns, personal credit report, statement of net worth, proof of income, real estate holdings or assets, and the guarantors agree to assume financial responsibility in the event of default. Number five is the business plan and operational overview. This is important for startups, new ventures, or non-traditional uses. This helps landlords evaluate sustainability. Okay, so what should the business plan include? It should include executive summary, market analysis, target demographics, marketing plan, revenue model, operating budget, break-even analysis, growth strategy, experience of owners and managers. This basically reassures the landlord that the business can generate consistent revenue so they can pay the rent. Number six is reference verification. References help validate claims made in the application and provide insight into the tenant's behavior and reliability. So let's talk about the different types of references. The first thing is landlord references from previous commercial leases. That includes rent payment history, lease compliance, and the condition of premises upon the move out. The next thing is trade references, which includes payment history with vendors, account balances, and responsivenesses to invoices. And the next thing is bank references, length of relationship, average daily balance, and overdraft or credit line behavior. Number 7 is fit for the property. Beyond finances, landlords need to consider if the tenant is a good match for the building and other occupants. So there's a few other things that you need to consider. You want to consider the zoning compliance. For example, is the business legally allowed in the location? If there are any use restrictions, for example, if there's any exclusivity clauses for other tenants, which is very common in retail or office or industrial or whatever it is, any parking needs, noise or odor issues, foot traffic impact, hours of operation, competitor conflicts, and insurance requirements for business type. Number 8 is lease negotiation. Once the tenant is preliminary approved, terms are negotiated based on the risk profile and mutual needs. So there's several key elements in the lease that you need to finalize and negotiate. For example, base rent and rent escalation schedule, whether it's a triple net lease or gross lease terms or any of the other several types of lease terms, lease duration and renewal options, tenant improvements, aka TI allowances, use clause, permitted use of space, exclusive use clauses, CAM charges, aka common area maintenance, security deposit amount, personal or corporate guarantee, and default clauses and remedies. Now, the final step is the lease agreement and the security deposit. So let's go over the final steps. Review the lease by attorneys, especially for long-term or high-value leases, execution of the lease by all parties, and the collection of security deposit. It's usually often 3 to 6 months worth of rent, especially for higher risk tenants, first month's rent, and insurance certificates, general liability, property, or business interruption. So that is the step-by-step overview of the commercial tenant screening process. Obviously, a lot more steps and a deeper due diligence than the residential screening process, but as a commercial leasing agent, it is your job to bring the best and the most qualified tenant to the building that you're representing. If you like this video, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. And I'd love to hear from you anytime, so feel free to send me a DM on Instagram. And if you're a leasing agent or property manager, good luck on this process.